A lot of us grow up believing that a powerful drive to be exceptional, to really stand out from the crowd, is a sign of rock-solid confidence. We look at ambition and perfectionism and think, wow, that's a strength. But what if, for a whole lot of us, that's just not true? What if it's not confidence at all? So let's just jump right in with the big question we're tackling today. Is your ambition actually a form of anxiety? Because what therapists often see is that this incredible, impressive drive on the outside is actually fueled by a deep, consuming anxiety on the inside. And this really gets to the heart of the misconception. On the one hand, you have the belief, what we think is driving us. Drive, confidence, strength. But then you look at the reality, what's often hiding just beneath the surface, a deep, profound fear of just being ordinary. And at the very root of that, it's a fear of being unlovable. So, that leads us right into our first big idea, the myth of exceptionalism. We're going to unpack why the idea of being average or ordinary isn't just a neutral thing for some people. Why, in fact, it can feel like an actual, genuine threat to their survival. And the foundation for this fear? It's a concept from psychology called conditional love. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's what happens when a child learns that love, attention, and even a sense of safety are things you have to earn through performance instead of things you just get, no strings attached. Let's make this super concrete with an example. Okay, so a kid brings home a great report card and is showered with praise, affection, the whole deal. But then, on a day when that same kid is struggling or feeling anxious or just sad, that parent becomes emotionally distant, maybe even unavailable. Now, to a developing brain, that's not just a parent having a bad day. That is powerful, crucial information. And that information kicks off a psychological chain reaction. First, the environment teaches a simple rule. Attention follows performance. So the child's nervous system comes to a very logical conclusion. Okay, I must be exceptional to stay connected and to stay safe. And then, over years and years, this childhood survival tactic hardens into a core part of their adult identity, where self-worth and performance are completely tangled together. So what gets wired deep into the system is this simple but incredibly powerful equation. Success equals safety, and failure, or even just being average, equals emotional distance. It equals abandonment. And for a child, the stakes literally could not feel any higher. So the big takeaway here is that this intense, burning need to be exceptional, a lot of the time, it has absolutely nothing to do with healthy ambition. It's a survival strategy. It's a learned requirement for getting the connection and safety you need. Okay, so how does this play out when we become adults? Well, that brings us to what we call the validation trap. And it's the reason why no amount of praise or achievement ever seems to be enough. And there's this perfect metaphor for what this feels like. Think of external validation, that compliment, that promotion, that word. Think of it like sugar. The second you get it, you get this immediate, intense spike of relief. But then, just like with sugar, you inevitably crash. And you can just picture that crash, right? In that moment of praise, your sense of value is sky high. You feel fantastic. But what about a few hours later? That feeling is gone. The relief has worn off. And suddenly, you're right back where you started, needing another hit just to feel okay again. And here's the thing, this cycle doesn't build real self-esteem. It does the exact opposite. It creates a state of chronic anxiety, where your mind is constantly running this frantic background check, asking these questions over and over. Am I still valued? Am I still special? Am I still chosen? It is absolutely exhausting. And this is where we need to draw a really important line in the sand. Healthy, resilient self-esteem is built on the belief that I am valuable even when I fail. But the fragile coping mechanism we're talking about, that's based on I am valuable because I am better than others. See the difference? One creates stability, the other creates constant, fragile anxiety. So the takeaway from this part is pretty clear. This endless hunt for validation, it's a total trap. It just fuels a cycle of feeling good for a minute, followed by chronic anxiety, all while it's pretending to be confidence. So, is there a way out of this? Of course there is. And that's what our final section is all about, the path to healing. And it involves an idea that might sound a little strange at first, letting go of the need to be the special self. Now, the heart of this healing journey might surprise you. It's actually a process of grieving. It's about letting yourself grieve the fantasy, the belief that you learned as a little kid that you have to be extraordinary to deserve love. That belief was a shield once. It protected you, but it just doesn't serve you anymore. So, what does this work actually look like? Well, we can break it down into 3 really practical psychological steps. First, pattern recognition. Just start noticing. When and where are you looking for that hit of validation? Second, affect tolerance. This is the tough one. It's learning to just sit with the discomfort of not standing out without immediately trying to fix it. And finally, reparenting worth. This is where you consciously and repeatedly tell yourself and internalize that your value is constant. It does not go up or down based on your performance. And I really want to make something clear here. This work is not about erasing what makes you unique or becoming mediocre. Not at all. It's about removing the crushing, relentless pressure to constantly have to prove it to everyone. Which leads us to this incredibly powerful and honestly liberating final idea. Ordinariness is not failure. It's the very thing that connects us to everyone else. It's our shared humanity. All right, let's do a quick run-through of the biggest takeaways today. That need for exceptionalism, it's usually anxiety, not confidence. It's born from conditional love, which creates performance-based worth. Remember, validation only soothes for a moment. It never actually heals. Real stability comes from letting go of the need to be special. And, the most important truth of all, you are worthy without any performance whatsoever.
And so I'll leave you with this one question to really sit with. How might your life, your work, your relationships, your own inner peace, how might all of that change if your worth had absolutely nothing to do with your performance?